Welcome back to Truth of Universe, where we uncover the most intriguing and controversial stories from around the web. Today, we're diving deep into a shocking claim: Ava Kris Tyson and Mr. Beast. Yesterday a ton of proof about Kris Tyson of the Mr. Beast crew's terrible behavior in communicating with minors and their history of incredibly unpleasant. Many individuals are criticizing the writers of the 2024 internet drama Season 7 for being incompetent since they are recycling a plot line. Many people made comparisons to the recent outing of a doctor who was disrespectful to a minor. There are numerous screenshots that show exactly what was said to the person, who was between the ages of 13 and 14, and it's gross, completely unacceptable, and some of them were just public tweets. Beneath everyone's nose, so even though Ava Tyson was an adult at this point, she was acting like a child and saying things like, "I posted some fire nudes for you, please don't share," and "but not $5, pathetic." JK Kissy Face seems to be communicating a lot, even sending out Snapchats. Here's one that starts, "Coming for America," and goes on to discuss being in a group chat and other things. I've seen a lot of people try to handle it by arguing that it's just edgy jokes and that people are exaggerating how ridiculous it is. That is a plunder. Tui, that is unclean. Barnacles, it's absurd. Adults should never interact inappropriately with children in any way. Savage jokes between adults and children are still repulsive. That's not the slam dunk justification that some seem to believe it is, that an adult should never be in a group chat with minors who are sending images of themselves to America. That's still wrong. From what I can see, the majority of the screenshots and a significant portion of the compiled data are from this YouTuber Prism42. That's still awful and incredibly strange. Since this video was released, it appears that this is where the most of it began. There are many more screenshots that have surfaced that show all kinds of really horrible things that were said to or about minors. I've only included a few here, but there are many more, and they're all just as bad, if not worse. For example, Ava Tyson used to call a 13 or 14-year-old boy her father. You can't just brush that off as being like quirky, inappropriate, edgy jokes that people are exaggerating. That's unacceptable, indefensible. The 13 or 14-year-old in question for many of these messages has come forward to give their own accounts of the events, and they don't think they were groomed. Or that Ava Tyson did anything wrong, and I'll just give my opinion here. I discussed it on stream, and I'm not trying to be some sort of armchair psychologist because, at the end of the day, I'm just a little reptile brain idiot, but I really do feel that in a situation like this, it's very difficult to process just how inappropriate or unacceptable something was when you lived it. I imagine that it's very difficult to view this as the person that you communicated with so closely for such a long. It is important to note that at this point, the majority of the evidence is screenshots, so I suppose there is a chance that some of them could be faked, but some of them seem very hard to fake. Like there is a video going through a Snapchat conversation with AA, and there are also confirmed things that were publicly tweeted from their account. In reality, though, no child should have this kind of relationship with an adult where you're joking about sending nudes to a minor or making provocative jokes about coming for America. It was also revealed that Ava Tyson had a history of being a fan of Shadman, which I'll get to now. However, since all of the deleted tweets make it hard to find the times that they spoke with Shadman or discussed Shadman and the artwork, I did find this from Mahar's video, where she used the Wayback Machine to showcase a tweet that Shadman censored because the character doesn't seem to be older than 18. For those of you who are familiar with that name, it may have just caused you to have a moment of Winter Soldier, rolling your eyes into the back of your skull. It's so disgusting that many people mistakenly believe that Shadman, an artist who drew child porn, is referring to Loi or Eli Lilly hentai type, which are, like, the meme's characters that appear to be young girls but are actually 5,000-year-old vampires sipping their Mountain Dew, going, uncultured swine. You see that it's not a real child, that this is a victimless crime, and that, despite her appearance, she is over 400 years old, coming from a sophisticated line of goblin ogres, so it's completely legal, and you're weird for thinking that it's weird. However, with Shadman, he wasn't drawing Eli Lilly. Instead, he was sexually depicting real children. One of the most notorious instances was when he drew Keemstar's 8-year-old daughter in a pornographic setting that is, real, insane drew porn of an 8-year-old girl who isn't here to say or anything, and you know what's even crazier? When Shadman dropped that disgusting dog, many people publicly supported him, as I discussed on stream. They were pumping their fists and saying, "Go, Shadman, it's Keemstar, who cares, doesn't matter, he deserves it anyway, Shadman. Do you take requests? Can you do this person's underage daughter?" After that, he was applauded for drawing child porn. Let that marinate for a bit. Anyhow, Ava Tyson has tweeted about Loy in public. There are numerous tweets in which she talks to or about Shadman. Many of these tweets have been removed because the account was nuked, but there are archives of them. One thing that remains, and something that many people have been pointing out, is that Ava Tyson may have actually commissioned a piece from Shadman, or at the very least bought one. There's a scene from a Mr. Beast video where there is Shadman art on Ava Tyson's wall. I withheld the close-up of the artwork for obvious reasons, but this is an undeniable fact. The only thing that remains to be resolved regarding Ava Tyson and Shadman's relationship is whether or not a piece was commissioned or bought, but at the very least, a piece was Ava Tyson's. There isn't much leeway to simply brush this off as some sort of innocent mistake. Whoops, a daisy moment when they didn't know what the art was. Ava Tyson has talked about content and art like that in public, and she also has a Shadman piece. I don't think it's just a coincidence, they didn't know about Shadman. Drew erotica. I'm not encouraging people to go look at other people's private matters, but I know that people might want to see him, so there it is if you want it. That's crazy that they are sharing revenge porn publicly and trying to spin it like, well, some people might want to see this, so for you. Then, another unsettling video surfaced where they had actually made a video a long time ago that linked to revenge porn of Jeanette McCarty. The story is that she sent pictures to her boyfriend, her now ex-boyfriend, and he leaked him out. Ava Tyson did issue a statement a few hours ago, saying, "I would like to apologize for any of my past behavior or comments if it hurt or offended anyone. It was not my intent seeing recent events. We've mutually decided it's best I permanently step away from all things Mr. Beast and social media to focus on my family and mental health. However, it would be weird to do that, and I'm not endorsing it because it's on Unhinged, completely unhinged as a result of all of this starting to hit the mainstream. That seems like a non-apology from a textbook. It is just like this general boilerplate statement about stepping back, nothing is denied, and there are no allegations that any of the information is untrue. It doesn't address anything, it doesn't discuss anything. Created, fabricated, a lie, a fib, a bunch of bullshit, nothing at all. You would think that if any of the information was inaccurate or false, Ava Tyson would want to clear the air on that right away, but that didn't happen. Even if it had been something like needing more time, I truly believe that would have been stated in the statement, stating that more time was needed to discuss all of these issues. That are false, but once more, that's not there, so at this point, they're all taken to be true, and they're indefensible. Tyson also tweeted more while I was making this video, asserting that no one has ever been groomed and then stating that the victim has publicly supported that claim. As I've already expressed to you, I don't think a youngster in this kind of relationship with an adult would ever truly understand how improper it was because it has become so conventional in their eyes. Which, in my opinion, is terrible, and there's really no way to justify it. In addition, there has been an apology for offensive social media posts, followed by a denial that the content was inappropriate or that it was just edgy jokes that have since been disproven. Ava Tyson has left Mr. Beast because she doesn't want the accusations to affect the hundreds of employees who work there. Simply said, I don't think a lot of those social media posts can be dismissed as edgy jokes or humor. You can't really just go ahead and hand-wave that as being edgy and like old humor that you've grown from, and then some of the tweets about it and like requests. I mean, when you actually owned art from an artist who draws child porn, that's not a joke anymore, haha. Bought some child porn art like that's not exactly side spit in comedy. I don't think you can just say, oh, it's just edgy jokes that are blown out of proportion, sorry if people are offended by it. That just doesn't seem to work to me right now. What's the joke? What's the punchline? As of the time I made this video, there has been no response from Mr. Beast or any other member of the team regarding any of this, so it's unclear whether or not Jimmy or any other member of the team knew about these things or what's going on there. This whole situation is obviously horrible, and there's a little more I want to talk about here, something I never thought I'd need to talk about, but I guess we've reached this point in the internet where this is necessary. I've been attacked on Twitter just recently, dog piled all over me while I ignored it. I talked about it on stream last night, the same day that all of these pieces of evidence started to surface. I talked about it immediately once I realized what the claims were, what the evidence was, and what was going on. And refusing to speak on it, acting like too much of a coward to talk about all this, which is crazy to me. And then people saying things like, oh, where was the same energy for Do, or where was the same energy that you had for Dr. Disrespect here? It's crazy that I even have to talk about this. I talked about it right away and even posted a highly edited, brief, nice, and concise video on my second channel that covers the bare bones of the situation and my thoughts on it. That way, even if you have the worst brain rot and can't concentrate on watching videos for very long, you can watch the entire thing and realize how bad the whole Ava Tyson situation is. However, Twitter didn't see the video, and the people who did wrote it off as, oh, he didn't do that for Dr. Disrespect. Instead, he said, you are provably wrong, all you had to do was activate a few neurons in your noodle. He's frightened to post it on his main channel. Check out my video about my doctor's disrespect. I uploaded it on June 22 ND, I believe at 900 p.m. The allegation against the doctor was made on June 21 ST, so when that happened, I discussed it on stream and Dr. Disrespect also released a statement the same day, nearly a full day later. I created a video discussing it, and in this case, the timing is exactly the same as when I discussed it. I even posted a video on my second channel covering everything that was released, and I'm currently creating a whole video about it. A full day has passed, and the problem still has the same intensity and speed as the Dr. Disrespect incident. The primary accuser of my dodging and refusal to handle the situation is, of all the persons to watch out for, Sneo the moist critic is not going to discuss Chris's predicament because he wants to work with Mr. Beast, but you're going to discuss every other hot topic that comes up. Anything that becomes viral appears on your primary channel, Dr. Disrespect Sneo. Chris, the associate of the world's largest YouTube channel, should post a 4-minute video on your second channel. If you want to be a journalist, stop coping and declare your desire for the collapse. Give up lying. This drool is going to make me crazy, Jesus Christ. You mean it's a 4-minute clip? I have to go put on the bathrobe here and give him PTSD or something. You are correct that I do talk about big trending bad like Dr. Disrespect or like Cody Coos recently. I don't know why people thought I wouldn't talk about this because I knew Cody Coos far more than I did Ava Tyson. However, I did that so people like you who don't pay attention long enough could see my take on it and also get the bare-bones information of what makes it so horrible. That's why it's a 4-minute clip on the second channel. It was never going to be a video I made talking about it. I had a lengthy conversation with Kodo on his podcast once. I've never been someone to shy away from a bad situation like this just because I know or am familiar with the person that it's about. I met Ava Tyson 1.5 times in DMs. The first time I saw them was after a poker game with Mr. Beast. They showed up right before I left. Then, at the most recent Mr. Beast video, right when I got out, Ava Tyson showed up. We spoke for a few minutes, but I didn't get to know Ava Tyson very well. Cody Co. I did, and I still wasn't afraid to talk about how awful his was. That being said, I'm not a journalist, rather, I'm this C-tier dumb journalist, like this real layman, so I don't know why people assumed that this would be the case in this instance. Additionally, for the millionth time, CTE-addled moron that covers stories, and sometimes I joke about them in conversation. Lately, though, it's been a lot more common. There are serious stories that I am passionate about sharing and discussing how horrible they are, so in a situation like this, no, this isn't really a story about which I joke a lot because it is serious when there is a child victim. That's something to take seriously, but since I'm not a journalist, most of the I discuss are the most meaningless nonsense ever, such as aliens in warp drives or the recent discovery that hippos can fly because they can take off for just a fraction of a second, or less than a frame, and I discuss and joke about those stories. Generally speaking, though, I just talk about and make jokes about it, except in situations like this one where it's a serious story that I discuss now. Sneo, here's the thing, when this story broke, I would have bet money that you would have been some sort of contrarian, saying things like, "Oh, this is just like Dr. Disrespect who you ran hard defense for with this imaginary 17-year-old you cooked up in your head based on one fake email from an anonymous source." You have been on this crusade against the age of consent for a while, so I really thought you would be talking about how everyone who's pretending to be outraged about it is just a hypocrite. I had assumed that you would take that stance once more, arguing that, well, 13 years old was probably a very mature age of consent. That age isn't even 18 in most states, and asking, how do you even believe that's because in Hollywood it's 18, so that gets pushed everywhere, most places 16, and if you question that then they call you a peddle. The age of consent, which I think should really be called the age of marriage, is the age of maturity. Age of consent suggests that you will not be married. I believe that getting married around the age of 16 or 17 is preferable to having a lot of prayer until the age of 30, at which point they become washed up and jaded. They use dried up eggs and birth control, which I believe is better for society. He is so phony that he even makes arguments in favor of pedophilia that's ludicrous, and it gets even worse when he is confronted on it. Here is an older video that was released a few months ago in which XQC and Destiny truly challenge him on this to his face, and holy, it's awful that you want to answer the question, but you say, I was going to yap and not answer the question. When you're finished, I'll ask you the same question because I just answered it. I also told you what I thought you should be thinking at this point in your development. Years olds, that's what Sneo believes, and he won't respond to that question truthfully, or he will have to provide a different response, in which case he has revised his morals and opinions, which makes him feel very uncomfortable. You are unable to respond to any of this. Go back to, bro. Well, that the corner in London where year 1 debaters roast you on this is Christianity. Please hang up the phone because I have no idea why you are in here. I intended to go discuss this word. I enjoy hanging out here, and I've had a lot of conversations with pedophiles in the past, so yeah, I'm see you now. What age do you think someone is developing at? I told you earlier that it depends on where you are. What stage are they in? There are many different stages of development, so I think it depends on where you are. You need to have set ages for each stage of development, such as childhood or adolescence, and you can hear him start to lose his cool in the background as he's sucking up snot from his burned nose and his brain is malfunctioning and overheating while trying to think of a response. To the most basic question in the world that is concerning you, realize how deranged that makes you look, Sneo, that makes you look like an actual danger to society, that you disagree with the age of consent and try to argue around it. That's what every pedophile ever that Chris Hansen has encountered. He keeps talking about the age of development and then can't even put a number on it. So please feel free to ask Sneo what he thinks the age of consent should be if you want to see a human being glitch out and malfunction like an oblivion. Spoke with would agree with you're strange, so this is for you of all people. He's afraid he's a coward for it, but he has no problem sacrificing his morals and defending blatant pedophilia, brushing it under the rug as long as it means the Mr. Beast collab lives. Putrid vermin, this absolute slimy worm, to have the gall to say that I only care about the Mr. Beast collab, so this whole story is just relegated. You'd never use that word's too big for you. This entire story is just put on his second channel where no one will see it. It was originally going to be entirely focused on everything Ava Tyson has done and why it's so embarrassing, but now I have to spend a significant amount of time talking about this. Discussing these allegations against me and how I refused to discuss them until Twitter put pressure on me to do so, despite the fact that I had discussed them as they were unfolding and had even said on stream that I planned to create a video about them. Where you're exchanging edgy and inappropriate jokes back and forth and being in group chats and voice chats with children and saying gross things around them is so weird that it is not okay under any circumstances. I wanted to talk about this, and that's about all I have to say about it. I'm not holding back when it comes to how I feel about it. Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Truth of Universe for more intriguing content. See you next time.